Hey y'all, so I want to welcome you back to a new episode of Crowning Convos, where every jewel you receive here gets you one step closer to receiving your crown from God. Now y'all know these jewels are not intended for you to just take and save them for a rainy day. What you want to do is take them back to God and start your own conversation where you will receive insight, instruction, and increase. I am your host, Aaliyah, and I'm so happy that you're joining me today. So y'all, I feel like it's been a long time since I've been here. Like usually, the day that I post an episode is the day I also record an episode for the following week. But this week, I have had some emotional things going on, and I just haven't been in the right headspace to do anything. Like, this is the first day, and today is Sunday, so I only got like 2-3 days of editing before I have to get things out on Wednesday, but I'm gonna get it done. But I'm thanking God for that rest that I got, and it's so crazy because what I just went through, what I just experienced is exactly what we're going to talk about today. He has actually rearranged it because I was planning to piggyback off of something that I said in the last episode, but with me going through this, he's like, no. And it's so crazy because even before this happened, he just has been on me about renewing my mind. Tuesday, I took my son to karate, and I had to drive my mom's truck because I couldn't find my car keys and I was already running late. So she listens to gospel music in the car, and I'm jamming to the stations or whatever. And when we leave his karate class, I remember I passed this sign that says alteration. And I've seen it before, but this day, I just immediately thought, altering my mind, like alter your mind. And this, so I'm talking in my head about alterations and stuff like that. And I say Romans 12:2, like Romans 12:2. And the radio goes off, and the radio host who's speaking, he then quotes Romans 12:2. If that's not confirmation that he wants me to alter my mind and get my mind on track, I don't know what is. Romans 12:2 says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. And so, I don't know, you might hear this and you might feel like how you think works for you, and that you're successful, you're married, you have kids, you have great friendships, you have a great career. Like, you may think how you think works for you, and that's cool. So I'm probably not talking to you. But if you decide that you still want to listen further, then I think you should. I invite you to. But one of the things that God has been on me about, because of my journey and because of my background and my family and our generational curses and stuff like that, one of the things is just not allowing my feelings to lead me. Not allowing, oh, you offended me when you said that. It don't always have to be offense. And I think that's something that a lot of us in general can take, because y'all, this world lives in offense so much so. It's almost like people look to be offended. Like, people look for you to have said something that disrupts their whole lifestyle. You could say, and this is just an example, but you could say, I don't like my thumb. Like, I think it's an ugly thumb. I just don't like it. And somebody without a thumb will get online and say, you disrespecting the non-thumb community. Like, at least you got a thumb. We don't have one. And it's like, that don't have nothing to do with you, or why you don't have a thumb, or like, why would you even insert yourself in that to where you wanted to be offended? Why would you take that on as something that for you? Like, why would you even want to own that? You know what I'm saying? So that's just something little. And if y'all have social media, then y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know, like I said in the last episode, how somebody will take something and make it about them and just be uber offended by it. And it's just like, no, like, y'all, we don't have to live in offense. Y'all do know God's purpose for us is to experience heaven on earth. We are born into a world of pain and stuff like that, but God really intends for us to live on this earth as if we were living in heaven. Like experiencing love, experiencing kindness, experiencing favor, experiencing wealth. Like he intends for us to do that like now, like today. Like we don't have to be dead and gone on to glory to experience that. He intends for us to experience it now. And that is why it is important for you to renew your mind, because you're going to miss it. So the experience that I had this week is my very, 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 very best friend. He said something, I didn't like it. My feelings got hurt from it. And like I said in one of my previous episodes, feelings come and go, but the ones that linger, those are the ones that you have decided to hang on to. That's the one that you just grabbed and you latched onto and you just intertwined it with your inner being. So now it has become a part of you. And that's not always good. That's not always good. Especially because God does not call us to live like that. He does not call us, especially those bad emotions, those bad feelings like anger, sadness, jealousy, anything else bad. He doesn't call for us to live our life like that. It is leading me to not be so quick to catch hold of the very first feeling that comes my way. Like, don't catch hold of the first thought. My first thought, oh, you disrespecting me. You don't have to catch hold of that, because that's not what it is. And I want y'all to remember how the enemy will come and twist things around. The enemy will cause you to see something from a distorted point of view. The enemy will cause you to bring up a memory that's being triggered. You can be triggered by something that someone says or does, and the enemy will twist it around like, yeah, remember how it made you feel the last time? Yeah, that's what this person doing now. They're trying to play with you and stuff like that. The enemy will get you to be like this too, but part of renewing your mind is you choosing to not see it from that perspective, not seeing it from a past perspective of one that causes you harm, but seeing it differently. So I made a list of some reasons why it's important to allow God to renew your mind. And one of the reasons is just to give you a fresh perspective of life. So Colossians chapter 3, verse 1 through 2 says, since you have been raised to new life with Christ, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in the place of honor at God's right hand. Think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. And so that's just calling you to have an elevated way of thinking and an elevated perspective, and not seeing things in its natural form and saying that's just what it is, but knowing that there's a higher purpose attached to it. And it reminds me of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7. Walk by faith and not by sight. So you don't take what is occurring naturally and become defeated or become discouraged because things are not looking the way that you want them to look, but you know that there's a higher purpose attached to it, and you know to look for the God in it, and you know to ask God, well, God, what is it that you're trying to show me in this moment? Why is this happening like this? And when you allow that to happen, and when you take a step back and get out of your feelings and get out of your own way of thinking, but allow God to guide and direct your thoughts, then you stop looking at obstacles and problems as things that have to be fixed because they're wrong, but you begin to look at it as God trying to prepare you and push you into your purpose. Like, you begin to look at it as something that you can learn from. God, what are you trying to show me in this moment? And even the bad things that happen, God can use everything. So even the things that the devil throws at you to throw you off and distract you, God can use that for good as well. And that's in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, that God will use all things. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. No experience is wasted. No time is wasted. No encounter with a person is wasted. God will use everything to be a stepping stool to push you into your purpose, into where you're supposed to be at life. But you have to be willing to take a step back and see it from a different point of view. And once you regularly allow God to elevate your mind and renew your mind, you will see and handle life completely differently. And it reminds me of, y'all know those commercials or the memes where like there's chaos going all around, there's fires everywhere, but you're just walking down the street eating your ice cream, or you're swinging on your swing or something like that, because you're completely unbothered by what is going on around you, because you know who covered you. You know that you are protected, you are covered, and no matter what is going on around you and no matter what the enemy throws your way, you know that you are going to be good. Right? So that's just one of the reasons that it's important for you to renew your mind. Another reason that I got is to allow God to reveal the truth to us. So 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 5 says, but you should keep a clear mind in every situation. And I don't know if y'all are like me, but it's really hard to do when you have so many painful experiences around you. You have life going on around you. Like, things are not as black and white as people like to make it seem, because we have our own feelings, we have our own experiences, we have our traumas that we may not have healed from. Not only that, but you got social media telling you how you need to feel about stuff. You got your parents, when you vent, you got your parents and your friends telling you how you need to feel about stuff, and you shouldn't take that, and this is what that means when somebody does that. And God is just wanting to remove the scales from our eyes and really reveal the truth to us, not just about him and his goodness, but about the people around us and the things that are going on around us. And so allowing God to renew your mind can really cause you to come from a place of non-clouded judgment. And so while everybody around you is thinking like this and moving like this and walking like this, you get to not be offended. You get to not be upset. You get to walk around. And again, like I said, you walking around while chaos is going on around you, but you see the truth, and you see the truth of who God is and what God is doing. And so you are just unfazed and unbothered by life. And so the third reason that I brought up why it's important to allow God to renew your mind is just so he can remind you of who you used to be and who you are now. So I think it is so cool when you can be confronted with a situation that 2 weeks ago you would have handled it completely different. 5 years ago, that version of you would have tore some stuff up, but because you have given yourself to God and you have surrendered to him and you move in a way that pleases him, you don't even act that way anymore. And what about when you come face to face with somebody who has hurt you in the past? But you're still able to love on them, and you're still able to respect them and help them, and they're just shocked because they know they did you wrong. And it's like, well, why are you so nice to me? Because you gave your life to God. And because God reminds us all the time to forgive those who have hurt us, to that we're not perfect as well, so to be mercy on others as you want God to give mercy to you. So yeah, you can handle them differently now. You can view them differently now. You can deal with them differently now. Right? So and even not regarding other people, but you yourself, like just being proud of you and just knowing that you can come from where you've come from and be a different person. This version of me that y'all see, she was never even on my radar. I've never experienced or met someone like me. And so I didn't know that it was possible, definitely not for myself. And so for me to see my growth, and for me to see not just my fire for God, but just my love for people and my desire to serve people. I've never been that person before. So knowing that I'm like that now, it makes me so proud, and it just encourages me to continue moving forward. And so allowing God to renew your mind so that he can just show you your progress and show you this is where you are, this is where you are now, and guess what? It gets even greater later. So it doesn't stop here. And it just encourages you. So when you do come face to face with obstacles, you're like, well, I already done went past this, so I know I can do this. Oh, I already dealt with this type of situation and I made it out. So I know this is little. This is a small thing to a giant. Things like that is why it's important. And so one of the other reasons is just to ensure that you are in alignment with God's will. So like I've been saying in one of my previous episodes, we are born into a world of sin. So we are born being taught certain things, certain behaviors, certain mannerisms, certain ways of being that are probably not right. And even for the ones that are right, like even if you're picking up the good things, is it God's will for your life? You feel what I'm saying? So when you allow God to renew your mind, there's no way you can possibly miss what's for you, because he's going to have you in alignment. You're going to be in alignment with whatever it is that he's trying to do. You're going to be a willing participant of whatever he is wanting to do within your life. And that's a great place to be, for him to know that he can use you, for him to know that he has your yes. That even when it's a struggle, he knows that he has your yes. He knows that he has your heart. If he has your heart, you are always in alignment. Because all he wants is your heart, and all he wants is your willingness. When you know that you are in alignment with God, again, you start to view life differently. And so you have to know and understand God is always moving. God is always moving, even when we don't see him, even when we don't understand what's going on, even when we see no changes in our lives, God is moving. And some of the things that God begins to move out of our way or move us into, he is protecting us from something that we don't even know is about to happen. Right? God can bring you to an opportunity. He can tell you to get with this opportunity. This is where you're supposed to be. And then you're moved out of that and you have no clue what's going on. But if you allow God to move you, and you allow yourself to not be so stuck on this one situation, but you know that God's goodness is better than anything else, and that if he can do this, he can do better, you will always be in alignment with God. Because guess what? God is the creator of all, so God knows everything that's going on, but the enemy is not as dumb as we think. He knows things as well. And so a lot of the times God is taking you to a place to bless you, and the enemy is racing him there so that he can curse you as well. So now God gotta bypass you and take you this way so that you can avoid and miss everything that's happening on this end. God is a God of strategy. And that's all throughout the Bible, where he has had people fight battles in the most craziest ways. Where I can't remember who it was, but he told them to go where the people were and blow a horn and I think throw a glass that had a torch in it, and the people started fighting each other. Like, they're not even fighting their enemy, but they're fighting each other, and they knocked each other off. These people over here, God's people, they didn't even have to fight, because God said, I'm going to get you the victory. Right? So when you take a step back and allow God to give you a new mind, you view things and you handle things completely different. And it encourages you and it pushes you to always be in alignment with God's will, because you know and understand that he only has your goodness in mind. He only wants for you to prosper. So I wrote down the definition of renew, which is to replace something that is broken or worn out. So you are replacing an old system that no longer works for you, y'all. You're replacing an old mindset, an old way of handling things that can no longer work for you. It cannot come with you where God is taking you. To renew your mind is to birth a new version of yourself, a version who no longer thinks the same way. I cannot think the same way going where God is taking me. You have to have this new mindset and these new characteristics before God takes you where you're supposed to go. Because if you are still in your old shell, if you are still in your old self, you will destroy where God is trying to take you. And that reminds me of the verse about the wineskin. So Matthew 9:16 and 17 says, "No one sews a patch of an unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst. The wine will run out and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins and both are preserved." So if God is trying to elevate you, if God is trying to take you into the new, if he's trying to take you into your promised land, you have to be the new wine. You have to be that new version of yourself that he is calling you to be. And I'm going to be honest, that transition is not easy, y'all. What I just went through this week, God and I, we call it a birthing. Because of how painful it is and because of how painful childbirth is, when I hit these growth spurts, like when I hit this segment where, like, all right, God, I see you trying to grow me. I see you trying to groom me. I see you trying to move me from one level to the next. I call it a birthing pain. And he's birthing a new version of me. And it hurts. It hurts because it's so much easier for me to live. For me, if I get offended by something, I'm walking away from you. I feel like I don't have to deal with nothing that is not for me. So I will walk away. But I can't do that in my next season. When God brings me into connection with my destiny helpers, with my friends, my husband, my family, I can't just walk away from them like that. And it's so crazy, y'all, because walking away is something that God has taught me. I used to stay in situations that I was not supposed to be in. And God strengthened me and taught me how to walk away from stuff. He would tell me when to walk away from people, how to walk away from this opportunity or whatever. God showed me how to do that. So now he's telling me to not do that. And this is why you have to go through multiple sessions of renewing your mind, because God is a God of transition, not tradition. So what works today in this season may not work in the next season. It will not work in the next season. You have to be willing to renew your mind. Okay, God, you're calling me to do something different than what I have been doing the past 3 years, the past 2 months. Show me how to do this. Because clearly this is new to me, because you've had me doing this all this time. So I wrote down some steps of what I am doing, like what this last week has been like for me since this has happened. And the first step that I got is to surrender to God, to humble myself and be willing to be hurt. Again, like I said, that birthing process, it is hard because you have to choose to act differently. You might be comfortable being a certain type of way, feeling a certain type of way, and even having mannerisms that support that feeling and support that thought process. But what about when God is calling you higher? What about if God is calling you to renew your mind? Then you pretty much have to throw those things in the trash. Like, yeah, they worked for you in your last season, but you're not in that season anymore. I'm calling you higher. I'm calling you over here. And you got to get rid of that before you can come over here. And when I say God moves fast, God moves fast. So you might not have 2 months to learn this new way of being. You might not have 2 weeks to learn this new way of being. Soon as God feels like I've learned and I'm comfortable, like he's moving me, y'all. And I can't tell you how swift that this is, because God has been on me so hard about preparing and healing. And he just needs me to be in position so he can move me. But there's a certain version of me that I have to be before I make it to the next place. The second way that I'm working to renew my mind is I'm ready to be corrected. Hebrews 12 tells us that God's discipline is love. So in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 5, it says, "And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It says, 'My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all.'" So God's discipline is love. If he's correcting you, please know that he only wants for you to be corrected for the goodness of you, for the goodness of where he is taking you, for the goodness of those who will be attached to you, who will be connected to you. When I tell y'all that he is on me hard about this, that even before I had a falling out with my best friend, God was telling me to renew my mind, and I didn't even know that my mind was out of whack. God told me this on Tuesday. I had a falling out with my best friend on Wednesday. That could have very well been a warning. Like, I have no clue. And because I didn't find issue with my mind, I didn't even ask God, like, okay, God, what you saying about this? What's going to happen to me that I need to renew my mind? What thoughts are you trying to change? What are you trying to tell me to do? How are you trying to alter me in this season? Like, I didn't even lean into him because I didn't find any issue with how I was thinking at that time. So be ready to be corrected by God. If you really want to renew your mind and you really want to partner with him and you really want for him to use you to the full extent that he wants to use you, so that you can reach and touch the lives of the people that's in this world and the people that are attached to you, you have to be willing to be corrected. And don't be offended by it. He loves you. If he's telling you that how you handled that was wrong, he loves you. And he just wants you to do it right. Because ultimately, you're the one who's going to reap the benefit of that. You're the one who reaps the benefit of that change. Not just you, but the people that you interact with. My best friend is going to reap the benefit of me being corrected by God. Why? Because then I'm going to stop being offended by stuff. And I'm going to stop saying I don't want to be cool anymore. Like, he's going to say something and I'm going to stop. And I'm going to feel hurt. And I'm going to identify that that might just have hurt my feelings. But I'm now going to try and look to see it from a different perspective. Because I know that it's coming from a person who wouldn't hurt me. So be willing to be corrected so that you can benefit those around you and you can build stronger relationships with those around you. So the third step that I got to is be ready to make changes. That was a part of the second one. I didn't even realize that. But be ready to make changes. Because you can know everything all day long. But can you implement it when you are being tested? And see, God gave me this analogy like, you know, y'all, when we in school and we cram for our test, we study real hard for this test, we ace the test. Oh, we good right now. But what about in 5 months if we was to have a pop quiz and nobody told us about it because nobody knew about it, and we had a pop quiz and we failed it? Why? Because we studied just to pass that test in that moment. We didn't study to retain the information and really implement it into our lives. So go through these things and study these things so that you can make changes in your life. Not just so you can pass the test, because guess what? You might pass the test with this person, but when this person comes and they come in a different form and they come in a different way, can you pass that test as well? Will you know how to pass that test? Renewing your mind is not just a temporary thing. It's not just to get you through this one specific moment. There's another moment that's going to come behind that. Like this right here, y'all. I can tell you that this situation with my best friend, this is not just the moment that I'm renewing my mind for. Something else is going to happen. And I'm going to have to look at it. I'm going to have to choose to look at it from a different point of view. I'm going to initially probably be hurt. But I'm going to be in a situation where I can't just walk away. I can't just ignore it. And I probably cannot even address it. You feel what I'm saying? Like, what happens when I'm in a situation where I can't do none of that? And that's why I have to start looking to things differently and looking at how things happen differently so that I don't even have to go through that headache of trying to figure out how to feel about this, how to think about this, how do I respond to this? Do I respond to this? Like, this all comes with renewing your mind. Renew your mind, y'all. Renew your mind so God can use you in the way that he needs to use you. Renew your mind so your relationships don't suffer. Renew your mind so you can make it, you can transition from one season to the next. I can't wait to get to my next season. I can't wait to get to my next season, and I can't wait to share the stories with y'all about everything that has occurred within this last season or my previous seasons. But I gotta pass this test. I gotta make it through this first. I have to renew my mind. I have to be in the right mental space where God knows that I'm not going to mess up where he takes me to. He got people in my next season that are waiting for me, but I'm not in the right headspace. So he gonna get me together first before he take me to them. And guess what? I'm probably missing out on a lot of opportunities. I'm probably missing out on a lot of things because I haven't renewed my mind. Because I'm still thinking the way that I needed to think in a previous season. And I'm talking about even just earlier this season, y'all, like within the last month. Like, let me tell y'all, for the last couple years, I have been held up on this promise that God gave me. And I'm going to tell you all about that. But I have been held up on this promise that God gave me. So it caused me not to want to walk in my ministry. I did not want to finish my books. I did not want to put this podcast out yet. I wasn't going out. I wasn't making friends. I was just waiting for this one promise to happen. And then I just thought my life was going to bloom then. The last 2 months, late August, early September, is when I've really been living my life. That's when I really been like, oh yeah, let me start trying to do the finishing touches on my book so I can have it out by the end of the year. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and start this podcast. I've been living life and going out with my friends and stuff like that. I just started this stuff. This is what God has been calling me to do this whole time, y'all. For the last 2 years, God has been calling me to live my life and to walk into my ministry, and whatever he had for me, the promise that he had for me, is going to meet me where I go. But I need to go ahead and live life first. Like, don't wait for this. So listen, I want to leave you with this. Philippians chapter 4 verse 8 says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." Renew your mind. Allow God to transform your mind. Allow God to lead how you should think instead of social media memes, instead of conversations with your friends or your parents. Allow God to lead you. Y'all, this world and God, they on two different levels. How the world thinks, how the world does things, and how God does things, it's on two different levels. It can't be compared. It can't even be in the same room, if we being for real. So let God renew your mind so that you can be elevated and placed where you are supposed to be. Because remember, he only wants to bless and he only wants to honor us. That's it. So y'all, this concludes this episode of Crowning Convos. The jewel of the day is renew your mind. Renew your mind and be willing to birth that new version of you. They're in you. That version that you want to be. Matter of fact, the version that you never even thought you can be is inside of you. But go through the continuous process of renewing your mind and allow yourself to look back at each person that you've left and be like, wow, I got past that. I got past that person, that version of me. When I look at my growth over the last 2 years, me and my best friend joke because I say I've been about 20 different people, and I have, because I'm always looking for an opportunity to grow. I'm always looking for God to renew my mind and renew my thought process about something, whether it's finances, whether it's my spirituality, whether it's my physical health, like whatever. I'm always looking for God to educate me and grow me in any area. And so I am often a different person every month. But I welcome that because I love that about myself. A lot of people can't do that because it's hard. It is hard to renew your mind. It is hard to not conform to the world when the world is this way and everybody that's in the world is this way. So I have a little announcement. So next week, I'm not sure if I'm going to post 2 videos or not, but one video absolutely will be posted. I am starting a new series. It is my testimony for how God saved my house. So after he told me to quit my job. So yes, God has paid my mortgage from October of 2022 to December of 2023. So I will not resume another mortgage payment until January of 2024. And that testimony series is going to tell you everything about it. So y'all stay tuned to that. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited to finally tell that story because it actually is what encouraged me to go ahead and start the podcast, because I just had to get it out. I had to tell somebody. So I hope you guys enjoyed that journey. And yeah, peace, love, and blessings to you all. And I will see you on the next episode.